Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds, and I'm going to be building the iconic Goth family a new family mansion. So this house ends up having 4 bedrooms and I think 4.5 bathrooms, and it's built on, I believe this is a 50 by 40 lot, could be wrong. If that's wrong, it'll be in the description box down below. But where I'm building in the world of Willow Creek, if you're familiar with the Goth family, you might recognise that this is not where they originally live when you open up a brand new save file. Now, if you are aware, you might be, if you've been a viewer of mine for a while, but I am currently in the process of pretty much remaking the whole entire Sims in my own way. Like, I'm coming in, I'm giving all the townies makeovers, I'm building them all new houses, I'm building new houses for new families, and a family that I've been meaning to sit down and build a house for literally years is the Goth family. And this week I finally did it. I actually finally sat down and I built something that I didn't bulldoze. I'm saying that because this week alone, this was the 3rd build that I did for the Goth family, but the other 2 attempts, which I'll show you and we'll talk about, I wasn't vibing with it. I wasn't happy with it, and if I ain't happy with it, I just didn't want to, put it out. And so yeah, I finally did this 3rd version and I'm really happy with it, and so yeah, I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've already come in and built the whole main structure for the build. When I say, by the way, that I had attempted this build 3 times alone this week, don't worry, I wasn't like furnishing it on the inside. It was purely trying to get a foundation down, trying to get like a structure of a build, and I spent a day on one of them, a day on the other one. I just didn't like it. But this is the final version, and this is the one that I actually came in and fully decorated and fully furnished. And yeah, it's a big build. I know I said it's a mansion, but it's only got 4 bedrooms. Trust me when I say, if you wanted to have an extra few bedrooms, you got plenty of room. It's got a 2-tier basement in this house. So there is one basement which there is some living quarters for a butler. There is also like a little utility room, laundry room space. There's also a very like fancy bar area downstairs, kind of like an entertainment area. And in that room, I placed down this bookcase door, which we actually got a kit, I think it was like earlier this year, called the Secret Sanctuary kit. And there's this bookcase door, but it actually looks like a bookcase, because previously we did have a bookcase door from base game, but it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, you can kind of tell that that wasn't actually meant to be a bookcase. But yeah, we got the Secret Sanctuary kit, and they gave us this bookcase, but then also a matching bookcase door. And basically, downstairs in the basement, I have this like really like entertainment fancy area, but then there's this line of bookcases, and there's a little door, and it's a secret bookcase. Go downstairs, and there is basically a wine cellar, a few different like spooky and gothic statues, and then also a money vault. I feel like nowadays, whenever I seem to build mansions, they always seem to have a money vault in the basement. But in my mind, I'm thinking, where do you store your money? But then also it just makes for good gameplay potential, because whether your Sims live here, if you want to download this build and you want to maybe not play with the Goth family and play with your own family, do whatever you fancy. But then also maybe if you're someone that likes to venture to your Sims, neighbour's house or something, and you're someone that maybe personally picks Sims that have got bigger houses to venture out to, you might have a kleptomaniac. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might have a Sim that's got a bit of sticky fingers. And so I feel like whenever I build mansions, yeah, it's just kind of fun for more so gameplay if you're visiting a lot that's got a vault, because in the vault itself, you can actually woohoo in it. And if you stock it with enough money, over time, simoleons will actually like accumulate on the floor, but then in the actual vault there'll be like diamonds, there'll be jewellery, I'm pretty sure there's like gold bars and stuff. Like, it's proper fancy. But yeah, that is in the basement levels. But then also in like the main body of the house, the main floors, we of course have a kitchen, we have a dining room, we have a lounge room, but then we also end up having a home office for Mortimer, or the dad of the household, the husband, whoever you refer to him as. But yeah, he's got his own little home office space, because when you open up a brand new save file, by default he is meant to be an author, and for my save I'm going to be keeping him as an author. I think that fits him quite nicely. And so yeah, he's got his nice little home office space. It's quite small in there, but he's got everything that he needs. He's got a computer desk, he's got I think a few different bookcases. He's got like some fancy award stuff that's related to writing and stuff. It's quite cute, but yeah, he's got his own little home office. And then we also end up having a second entertainment room, but on like the main level of the house. So in that one, it has also got like a bar entertainment area. It's got a dance floor. It's also got like a radio station. It looks out onto the garden, so it gets like lots of natural daylight come in. It's really pretty in there. But well, I'm pretty sure that is it on the downstairs level. There is also like another dining room space, which is more so like a breakfast nook, because sometimes if I've got like a really big house and I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what am I gonna allocate to what space, I'm thinking, if you live in a mansion, you're probably someone that could afford to have multiple different dining areas, you know, somewhere to eat your porridge in the morning, but then also somewhere to eat your, I don't know, lobster of an evening or something. Like, we've got two different like dining formal areas, so you know, either have like a nice little snack in like the breakfast room, and then there is also a more like suited for dinner parties, if you want to put it that way, formal dining room. But then on the upstairs level, that's where we have 3 of the bedrooms and then 3 of the bathrooms. All of the bedrooms have their own like bathroom ensuite, so there is no main bathroom of the house. But I feel like just for gameplay, sometimes if you just have your Sims have their own allocated toilet, it makes it a little bit easier. I will say there is space for if you did want to have a main bathroom in this house, because you can see on the upstairs level, the way that I tried to structure it, I wanted your Sims to walk up the staircase, but I wanted it to be quite fancy, because I love sometimes when you have like a big grand entrance into a home. Don't get me wrong, I also do really like when you just walk in, you know, shoved into the left hand side, there's a staircase, go upstairs, Bob's your uncle. But then also sometimes I like it if you're walking into a mansion, it to feel like a mansion. Like, I want it to feel like extravagant from when your Sims would walk in through the front door, if that makes sense. And so the way that I kind of structured the upstairs level, as you would have seen, I placed a staircase both on the left hand side and the right hand side, and then on the upper level I kind of did like a semicircular balcony, kind of similar to what I did in the exterior. Because if you was to look at the exterior, I'm aware that I'm doing the floor plan now, but if you was to kind of take a peek at what both the back and the front look like, they've kind of got like this semicircle balcony into both the entrance into the house, but then also the entrance into the back garden patio space. I kind of did something like that, but on the upstairs level, it just ends up being a nice seating area. But again, I just wanted it to feel fancy, and you know, when your Sims walk in through the front door, you know, it's going to be quite a nice house just from like the way that the entrance looks. But I also do want to say that on the upstairs level, I did decide to give Bella and Mortimer their own walk-in wardrobe, so you could definitely change that room and manipulate it and make it into whatever you fancy. But I'm building a house for Bella Goth, you know, like the Bella Goth, and so I just felt like it was just more than appropriate that, yeah, she would have her own little dressing room. Currently, I'm coming in and doing the floor plan for the basement level. I wanted to point it out because the floor plan for the first basement level, the second one down here, this pretty much sounds the exact same, but the floor plan for the first tier of the basement, I will admit, I do end up completely changing when I came in and I did the flooring and the wallpapering, just because sometimes when you have basements in the game, the terrain goes a bit strange sometimes, and I wanted it to be a little bit bigger, but then when I extended the walls out, then the terrain on like the ground level, if you want to put it that way, like from the outside, the terrain was up in the air. And so I did change the floor plan up for the basement ever so slightly, but like always, there will be like overhead screenshots of the floor plan and everything at the end of the video. But either way, before I actually get in and I start talking about the Goth household, the Goth family, Bella, Mortimer Goth, their daughter Cassie and their son Alexander, because I also am quite aware that some people might not even have a Scooby who the Goth family are, so I will kind of do a little bit of a deep dive, not massively, but you know, I'm gonna like tip my toes in and tell you a little bit about it. But I did actually want to talk about the building process for this house, because like I already said, this was my 3rd attempt at building the Goth family a new home just this week alone. Funnily enough, I have actually already got 2 speed builds on my channel. They're very old, really recommend that you don't watch them. I'm not even just saying that, generally I really wouldn't, but I have actually got 2 speed builds of me giving the Goth family a new house before in the past. They're from about 6 years ago, and it's funny because at one of them I renovated their original house, it wasn't my best. And then another version of it, for some reason at one point in time I wanted to give the Goth family a really modern house, and I did like a modern Goth villa. It, like I say, it really was not the best, but now looking at this build, completely different to my both previous two actual published attempts. And I'm saying published because I have attempted to build the Goth family a house so many times, like genuinely I've lost count. But the thing is, now where I'm so like knee deep in my save file, and I've got so many houses, and I'm really like my save file, I'm not even joking, I feel like it is my child. Like I'm so protective of everything that goes in it. And now where I just try and make everything as I don't want to say perfect, but as good as I can possible, I'm just very particular about all the different houses that I build, and especially houses for iconic families like the Goth family. And so, you know, I have attempted to build them. What that wasn't even a word, was it? I have attempted to build them a house multiple different times. And like I said, this week alone, there was 3 attempts. This was the 3rd attempt, but the first attempt I went for some reason I was thinking they would live in a Tudor house, which, don't get me wrong, I could actually see it. Like, as I'm picturing the Goth family in my head, which I'll pop a picture if you're not familiar with them, but as I'm picturing this family, you could pass off as someone that would love like a Tudor mansion somewhere nestled in the countryside. Like, I feel like that kind of suits them, but I didn't want to move them out of Willow Creek. I didn't want to move them to the world of Windenburg, where we've got all of them different Tudor buildings. And so that was an idea that I had for a day. I worked on it. I tried to do a floor plan for it. Nah, do you know what? I've saved it to my library, and I might use that at a later date for maybe potentially a different video, maybe like a mansion in the world of Windenburg. I have actually already got 164 by 64 Tudor mansion in the world of Windenburg for my save file, but I need to build a second one because there is 2 64 by 64 lots, and the one that I need to build on is, you know, the little island in Windenburg that, you know, there's no roads, it's basically just like dirt pretty much, but I need to build on a 64 by 64 lot there. And I feel like I might actually use what I did this week as kind of like a starting off point for potentially a mansion there, but I might change my mind. I might look at it in maybe like a week's time and not like what I did. But yeah, that was the first version. I did actually build it on this same lot, but part of the reason why I wasn't really feeling it is because I just felt like a Tudor mansion in the world of Willow Creek, in terms of my save file at least, in terms of like, I'm trying to have certain build styles in each and every world, and I'm trying to be somewhat consistent with them builds throughout all the different neighbourhoods. I feel like a Tudor building wouldn't fit into Willow Creek, but then I had the idea of, well, I could potentially maybe move them to Windenburg, but then, to be fair, my head, I've already got everything mapped out where I want everything in Windenburg and all the different families, so they couldn't live there. And so yeah, I'm definitely going to be saving that and potentially using it in the future. I don't even know, by the way, when I'm going to be showing you these examples of previous builds from this week, I haven't taken the pictures yet, so I don't know what the pictures are looking like that are popping up on the screen. But the second one that I then attempted to build, completely different route in a sense of it wasn't as light as the first one. I tried to build kind of like a Victorian Gothic, really dark and really moody like mansion. Just again, it just did not fit in the world of Willow Creek, and I was just thinking, this is great, and I do actually really like this build in particular for the world of, do you know, the world of Ravenwood that we got from Life and Death expansion pack. Feel like it could fit in there, you know, but it weren't working for the lot that I was building on, and so eventually I settled on this Gothic colonial, which you can see me build right now. Now, the reason why I decided to go for this style is because, and you might see it at different points, but basically right directly behind where I'm building in the world of Willow Creek, I've already come in and built a retirement home for my save. It's called the Sage Estates Retirement Home, and I built it maybe like 2 years ago roughly. It was when the Growing Together expansion pack, it was when that first came out that I was just loving the idea of potentially having, you know, people go and visit their grandparents or something at a retirement home. And then I just thought, for my save file overall, I've got a few elders, you know, bopping about. I don't really know where to place, and there's only so many different homeless sims I want to have in like the tray files. And so, you know, I once upon a time built a Sage Estates retirement home. It's called Sage Estates, by the way, because the neighbourhood that I'm building in is called like Sage Estates. But yeah, I built this really colonial retirement community, if you want to put it that way. And you can kind of see it as I spin the camera, but the building structure for this house, the Goth Family Mansion, I basically just tried to take implements and little parts of the retirement home and put it into this one, but do it in a little bit more of a gothic way. And I mean, I feel like it worked out. Like I said, I'm really happy with this build. It went through its phases, not this particular build, but the building process for the Goth family. But yeah, to build them a new house, I definitely had a bit of a moment, and I was pulling my hair out at some points. But I'm really happy with the way that this just ended up turning out and just everything about it. Also, something that I really wanted to mention, I've actually got something else that I want to tell you about. To be fair, I've actually got 20 other things that I want to tell you about, but one thing that I did want to mention in this build, which I'm so happy that I was able to include, for the Goth family, I made it so in their back garden, which is quite funny because it actually backs onto a retirement home where we have elders living, they also do have a graveyard. Now, the reason why I'm really happy about this is because I'm someone that I have played The Sims since I was a little girl. And when I say little girl, like, I was literally 6. I felt so naughty because The Sims is like a 12 game, and like I just felt so rebellious. But I have been playing the game since I can remember, put it that way. And I used to always play it with the Goth family growing up, but in some of their previous houses, in previous versions of the games, like Sims 2, Sims 3, whatever, and also I think Sims 1, but they had graveyards in their back garden. But when we got the original Goth house, the OG one, and I'll tell you about that in a second, but they didn't include a graveyard, and I just felt like it was just essential for this family to have a grave section in their back garden. So yeah, they do also have a swimming pool, which sounds really random, but basically I just wanted there to be elements of having a mansion. And I'm thinking, if I am building a mansion, I want it to have things that you would typically find in a mansion. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like having a swimming pool is very much wealthy kind of area, if you get what I mean. And so yeah, if you come out the back door and you chuck a right, there is a swimming pool area, got a few different sun lounges, you know, have a little sunbathing. There is also a diving board on the swimming pool, so the kid of the household, Alexander, he can, you know, cannonball into the swimming pool. But then if you just go towards the left, you go through kind of like a little bit of an archway section, and there is, what's it called? We got it from the Life and Death expansion pack. It's basically like this little mini house. It's quite gothic, and you can fit 20 graves in there. It's like a big tomb, put it that way. But it's really handy if you've got a Sims family that, you know, a lot of their relatives have passed and you need somewhere for them to be, like the Goth household. And so yeah, I placed that down into the graveyard section of the back garden. I also made a few different fountains. So I placed one down into the graveyard section, but then I also did the exact same in the swimming pool section. I used the like fountain making tool, which, you know, sometimes when you like draw a swimming pool in the game, underneath where you would draw a swimming pool, there is also a fountain category, and you can basically make your own fountain, but your Sims just can't jump in it. It's just much more like, I say it's much more less deep, but it's not as deep as a swimming pool. But I made 2 fountains in the back garden, and yeah, I placed down some like really spooky looking statues in them. I placed down some like overgrown vines and moss, and what I was thinking would be like, you know, like algae, I think is the correct terminology, like basically gunk that accumulated in these fountains over time. And I placed down one into the graveyard and then one into the swimming pool. And then also in the graveyard section, I placed down, I think, a few different seating areas alongside with some tombstones and then lumps of dirt to make it look like someone's recently been buried. It sounds so morbid, I'm very much aware. It sounds like so strange, but for the Goth family, it makes perfect sense. And if you are aware of who the Goth family are, like I said, we will talk about it. Like, I've got so many things that I want to talk about. But with the Goth family, if you go back and you look at their previous generations in previous Sims games, there's actually about 20 different family members. In The Sims 4, we didn't get them other family members. However, in my save file, I plan to come in and basically make all the different previous generations. They're not going to be alive. They're all actually, funny enough, they're going to be in the back garden in that big like tomb looking thing. But I plan to make all the different family members, whether it be, you know, the dad's parents or the dad's, you know, parents, or whether it be like Bella's brother, which Bella Goth, fun fact, is actually meant to have a brother called Michael Batchelor. And also it kind of like ties into the Caliente family. I'm not sure how much of like Sims lore that you know. Honestly, I eat this kind of stuff up. But the Goth family kind of have connections with the Caliente family in multiple different ways, but not going to go into that. One of the ways, however, is Bella Goth, the mum of this household. She, in previous versions of the game, she had a brother called Michael Batchelor. Batchelor's her maiden name. Anyway, he was engaged to, oh, what's her name? It's Nina or Dina. Can't remember. It's a blonde one. I always get them confused, but either way, Michael, he's also going to be in the family tree. He's actually going to be residing in the graveyard in the back garden, which it sounds, like I said, it sounds really bad, but in terms of like Sims lore and just like how it was in previous versions of the game, it just made so much sense to me to make it so, yeah, they have like a graveyard section in their back garden. You can actually see that I've now moved over into the back garden. I did the landscaping and I tried to make it quite like formal and fancy, and so I tried to like fence it in by using this live edit fence post that, oh, what pack is it from? I think it's from the Life and Death expansion pack, potentially, or Lovestruck. Whatever one it is, I'll pop it on the screen so I correct myself. But really nice. I haven't used it before in the past, but it comes in a straight version and like a little bit of like a curved version. And so I just basically got multiple pieces of them, popped them together, and then, yeah, just tried to like fence in the landscaping. It just made it feel a little bit more elegant in a way, but either way, over here, this is that little like fountain thing that I was talking about. So if you're not aware, you can actually make your own fountain pieces. You know, like how you make swimming pools, you can also make fountains. Now, I'm mentioning this just because, and this happened a few years ago, but one of my mates, I think she built like a restaurant or something, and she built this beautiful restaurant, and she sent me a picture of it, and she had a swimming pool, but then she had like, you know, them like spray outy fountains, the one that kind of like squirt out water. She had some of them in a swimming pool, and I went to her, I was like, oh, why didn't you just use like a fountain, like place down a fountain? She didn't even know that we had like a fountain thing. And so in case you're not aware, you can actually also make your own little like fountain things, pretty much like swimming pools. However, they probably go up to like ankle length for your Sims. Your Sims can't go in them, but they make for like nice decoration. Plus sometimes if you want to have, you know, like a really fancy building, whether it be like a restaurant, whether it be a nightclub, and you want to have like a fountain with like some sprayy outy water things, and you don't want Sims jumping in the pool, yeah, it is really handy. But that is both in the graveyard section and then also in the swimming pool section. You can kind of see I did one of them and pretty much just copied and pasted it over and just changed the statues that is inside of them. But something that I wanted to say, and I actually kind of briefly spoke on it at the very beginning, and then honestly my mind goes a million miles an hour. I just got so many different things I want to tell you. I kind of touched on it and then just left you hanging. But if you might be familiar with the Goth household, you might be aware that when you enter a brand new save file, this is not where they're originally residing. Like, this is not originally where their OG family home is. They originally live in the neighbourhood, which I've kind of now familiarised myself with the name. It's called Pedulia View. It's the one which, if you look at the Willow Creek map, right, Stage Estates where I'm building is in the top left. It's kind of on like the top right, so kind of like the opposite neighbourhood. But that's where, when you enter a brand new save file, the Goth family originally live. And the thing is as well, when you enter a brand new save, they live on a 30 by 20 lot. And I remember when I got The Sims 4 for the first time and I realised that, it just felt so just bizarre to me, because going back to like previous versions of The Sims, like The Sims 2, The Sims 3, especially in The Sims 3, the Goth house was like this weird house, like in the middle of nowhere. Like, they didn't have really any neighbours, off memory anyway, unless I'm thinking correctly, but they kind of were settled in by themselves. There was no like immediate neighbour to go knock on their door, ask for a bag of sugar or anything. They were kind of like residing in their own little space. But in The Sims 4, the Sims team decided to make it so they live in quite a, I don't want to say built up area, because in the neighbourhood that they originally live in, there is only 4 lots, but you can kind of see in the distance that there is quite a lot of other houses that we just can't interact with. And to me, in my mind, it never really made much sense. And so for the past few years now, ever since I've been really working on my save file, I just decided that I don't want them to live in that neighbourhood. I want to move them to Sage Estates, where the retirement home is. I actually had this idea well before I built the retirement home, but I wanted to give them a house which had almost like the same energy. This sounds really like cheesy, but hear me out, but kind of like the same essence of the weird house tucked away in quite an expensive neighbourhood, but you know, like the weird house that's like a little bit gothic, that kids, when they go trick-or-treating or something, they're going to be a little bit like scared about. I wanted to kind of give it that essence, and their original house in their original neighbourhood just yeah, it just didn't really make much sense to me, and so that is why I decided to move him here. And also, if you're curious, the original family that live in this lot when you enter a brand new save file, they are called the Spencer Kim Lewis family. They actually live in that neighbourhood that the Goth family now moved out of. I was about to say now lived in, but where the Goth family originally used to live, that is where, now in my save anyway, the Spencer Kim Lewis family live. They don't actually live on the Goth lot. I actually built that for a completely different sim who I actually recently built a business for. I don't know if you saw it, but recently I built a bridal boutique in the world of Windenburg, and I was talking about how basically the whole idea for the sim and like who's gonna own it and stuff came from the film Parent Trap, if you're familiar. And basically my version of Elizabeth James lives on the original Goth lot. It looks completely different. It does not look like what their house was originally, but you know, I'm actually just one lot away from finishing up the Petulia View neighbourhood in my save file. The only one lot I've still got yet to build is for the Spencer Kim Lewis family, but either way, besides the point, I was just yapping when I just got so much to tell you, but as you would have seen, I just finished up the back garden and now I moved on into the inside. Now, the inside of this house, I would be lying if I didn't say that it was quite challenging. I must admit, I had a few different attempts at just this hallway alone. Believe it or not, it's literally just an entrance hallway, but I really wanted to try and capture the essence of what the Goth family, it sounds so silly, but like, if you are familiar with this family, which I will tell you about in a second, but the Goth family, their original house, when you enter it, it's very black, white and red, and when I say red, it's proper red, like it is red. And when it came around to doing the interior decoration for this build, I still wanted to have that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still wanted to be like, this must be the Goth household because of the colour scheme, but I tried to do it in my own way. It's not as over the top as their original house, but their original house style, I just wasn't a massive fan of it, and so I still tried to have like bits and pieces, and I still tried to stick to like a black and red colour scheme with, you know, elements of brown, but just do it in my own way. The original Goth house, which I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, and I say original, it's because basically the Sims team built us the Goth house back in 2014 when The Sims 4 came out, and the original house looks like this. I'll pop a little picture on the screen, and then maybe like a year or two ago, I don't know at this point, but the Sims team then did like this base game update, and they revisited some old townies houses which launched with the game back in 2014, and they rebuilt them like a newer version of their house. For the most part, they all pretty much have the same like energy and stuff, but in the original Goth house, I must admit, I'm not actually too familiar with the newer one in save files, but in the original Goth house, the red in that build was just so overpowering. I still wanted to have that red, but I mean, you'll see it, and actually I've moved on into the dining room, and this is a really good example. I tried to have red, but not like a cherry red, kind of like a muted, kind of like a nice milled wine, kind of a red wine, if you want to put it that way. You see the dining room chairs, this colour, which, can I just say, that this wasn't tagged as red in, you know, like the taggings thing when you can kind of filter by colour. Did that a lot in this build because I really wanted a lot of things to be red, but these chairs for some reason weren't tagged as red in like that colour category, which I just thought was bizarre. But you know, I pulled out this one chair which was from Discover University, and just kind of like the shape of it reminded me of these ones that we got from the Horse Ranch expansion pack. And even though they came with Horse Ranch, I just feel like it's just the perfect goth chair for this household. I mean, of course there is other ones which are way more like gothic and like a little bit like vampire-y that we got from the Vampires game pack, but no, just for kind of like the neutral red energy that I wanted to go for. I didn't want it to be too overpowering. I still wanted it to be red, but like a muted red wine kind of red. Hopefully you're following along with me. Also, I wanted to mention, I did the dining room before the kitchen, and that is purely for the reason that I came in and I attempted the kitchen, which you can see that I've now moved on to. I attempted it probably about 3 or 4 times before this version, and I couldn't figure out how I wanted this kitchen to look. And so before I, actually settled on what I was going to do, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and do a different room. I'm going to do the dining room first, which is such a weird format, because I don't know if you notice, I don't know if you watch me regularly or whatever, but when I do my speed builds, I always have kind of like the same structure of do the outside, do the front garden, move over to the back garden, do the back garden, move into the inside, do the hallway, do the kitchen, do the dining room. Like, I follow like the same like routine. It's just like literally habit. But when it came around to doing this build, I attempted the kitchen before I did the dining room. Didn't like anything that I was doing. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to come back, reassess it, and yeah, I'm happy that I did, because I end up really liking this kitchen in comparison to some of the other versions of the kitchen that I came out with. Like at one point, do you know what, I'll see if I can find a clip of it and like put it on like a little mini preview thing on the screen, because at one point I tried to do like a zigzag L kind of shape thing with the counters. I don't know what I was doing, but in the end I went for these base game counters and I tried to do a really fancy kind of like oven stovetop area. I have actually done this a few times now in several different builds, all in like multiple different styles. Like I've done the Caliente family, the Caliente sisters, I did their kitchen to have this similar kind of like stove, like fancy built-in oven area. I've also done houses in Tartosa, I've done houses in Strangerville. Like, I just basically like the idea of sometimes having a really big fancy like oven stovetop. I try and make it look like some people, some people have like them really big ovens, which they're the ones that don't turn off, and I think they're called the Aga, if that's the right terminology. The ones that don't turn off, which I could not have personally. Love the look of them, but I would just worry too much. Like sometimes I'll be in bed and I wouldn't have been cooking downstairs in the kitchen for a good few hours. All of a sudden my mind goes to, did you turn the oven off? And it would have been on for hours at this point. But I personally couldn't have one. But if you know the oven that I'm talking about, sometimes when people have them, they have like a really big like hood above it. I basically try and make my own version of that hood, and the way that I do it is I just get some counters, the ones that I've used in here from base game, but I place them down to the wall, and then in this particular kitchen I use this like wall decoration piece, which I'm not even sure what it's meant to be, but we got it from Lovestruck. I basically place it down onto the wall behind where the cabinets are, and then using the tool mod I basically gravity pull it away, and then sometimes I like to like merge in a clock, or sometimes I like to merge in a sign or something, but in this kitchen I decided to merge in a clock. And yeah, I mean, it just looks like a little bit more of a richer person's oven. Both of the ovens work, by the way, in case you're curious, and also something that I wanted to mention because I've had a few comments about it recently. If I use a tool mod and you download the build, you don't need to have the tool mod installed into your game. I used to mention this all the time, but I kind of haven't been mentioning it. But yeah, no, I've had a few comments on some of my videos, and people have been asking me if they need to download the tool mod or whatever. If I use the tool mod in a build, you can download this build off a gallery and it will look the exact same. So even though the tool mod is something that I use to kind of like change objects and manipulate objects into a certain way, you don't need to have the mod installed into your game to be able to download the build and for it to look the same. Does that make any sense? But yeah, you don't need the tool mod. So basically, if you're someone that plays on console, say for example, or if you're someone that plays on PC and you don't have any mods or custom content, you can still download the build, and everything that I've manipulated with the tool mod will still be exactly how you see it on the screen. The way the tool mod works is it's a mod that basically allows you to manipulate already in-game objects, but where they're already in the game, it's not classed as custom content. Hopefully that makes sense. But either way, just off the kitchen, we've kind of got this little like breakfast nook area. It's quite formal in here, I feel like, for like a breakfast like area dining nook. I placed down this one painting, which if you actually look at it, it looks like the bottom portion of it has been burnt. We've had it in the game now for I think around about a year, or at least coming up to a year. I feel like we got that when, the Life and Death expansion pack. I feel like when that launched, there was kind of like a limited time event or something, and you had to unlock that painting. I don't think I've used it in a build, just because I just wish they gave us a version of it that wasn't burnt, to be honest with you, because like how many times can I place it down into someone's home office or something and have it make sense, because half of it is burnt like from a fire. For the Goth household it works, but yeah, it's a really pretty painting. I never seem to use it for that reason. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the living room lounge situation. So in here I decided to go for the fireplace that we got from the Life and Death expansion pack, and do you know what, this fireplace is bang on for the Goth family, because it's got a skull in it. Like if you actually look at the middle, that little like face thing, it's meant to be a skull. And the Goth family, which I promise I will tell you about, I keep on saying it but I keep on going off and talking about something else, but the Goth family, it comes from the name. They're Goths, their original house was black, white and red, very much black, white and red. They wear quite dark clothing, they're quite mysterious. That in their house, in like The Sims 3 for example, it had multiple different graves, and if you ever was to play in that house, all the ghosts was literally just wander about. It used to really scare me when I was younger, but they're literal goths. And so that fireplace for this lounge room is perfect. However, I decided to cover it up in the end because I wanted it to still function as like a TV sitting room. And so you would have seen, I placed down a TV. It looks like a painting, but it's one that it like turns on if you actually sit down in front of it, but when it's off it looks like a still painting. It's from the Secret Sanctuary kit, and yeah, I ended up covering up the skull. But if I had like another TV room, it is just the perfect fireplace for the goth household. But either way, actually getting on and talking a little bit about the goth household. I'm so sorry, I was meant to talk about this earlier, but like I said, my mind goes a million miles an hour. I'm wanting to explain what I'm doing at all given points in time, but just as kind of like a little bit of a summary for the Goth family. If you're not aware, they are a very iconic household that has been in the Sims franchise since The Sims, like the OG original The Sims game. Now, I must admit, normally whenever I do like a townie house like redo, so you know how I said like, I'm trying to rebuild every single townie's house in the game. Normally when I do it, by this point, because I've been working on my save file for literal years at this point, and I do really want to do kind of like an update video just to kind of give you kind of like a general idea of where I'm at. I don't want to go too in depth, say that I might end up because I'm a yapper, but I kind of want to give you an overview of showing you the different houses and stuff. But typically when I do like townie house redos, I can show you pictures of the family and kind of like show you my makeover for them. However, I haven't done the Goth family a makeover yet because I'm actually just a little bit cautious of how to give them a makeover, in a sense of I don't want to do them wrong. Okay, because the thing is, the Goth family, they're goths, alright? Like, well, not so much Bella. I feel like Bella herself, she came from a different family, and she married into Mortimer Goth's, you know, legacies, household and stuff. Mortimer Goth, his mum and dad were very gothic. Like, his mum had purple hair in Sims 3. And also, fun fact, you know Cottage Living, you know Henford and Bagley, you know the old lady that hits you with her handbag? That is supposedly meant to be, and it doesn't translate into The Sims 4, but that is actually meant to be Angus Crumblebottom, who is Mortimer, the dad of his household. That is supposedly meant to be his auntie? It's his mum's sister. So he's that auntie? Yeah, auntie. But in The Sims 4, it doesn't translate, and there is actually no family relationship. And I'm also a little bit cautious of how I'm actually going to be able to make that work in my save, because with Angus Crumblebottom, I believe if you play with her, where she's like an NPC that you kind of like interact with in the world of Henford and Bagley, if you play with her and she becomes your active sim, then another version of her will spawn in, I believe. And so, yeah, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do that for Angus Crumblebottom. Why did I stutter on her name? I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that for Angus Crumblebottom. I actually have no idea how I'm gonna battle that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. However, I do still, like I said, I want to have all the relatives. I want to have Mortimer's mum and dad, and like his mum and dad's mum and dad, and you know, like Bella's mum and dad and their mum and dad, and like, because the thing is, if you actually really dive into the Goth family wiki, you can actually see their family tree, and you can actually see all the different connections and how they're related to the Caliente family and stuff. And I plan on doing that. However, I don't think actually, because I plan to have Michael Batchelor in the graveyard in this house, like I said, that's Bella's brother. I plan to have him previously engaged to Nina or Dina, I can't remember which one blonde hair. But I'm not sure if that will translate over into the family tree or not, because family trees in The Sims are a bit weird sometimes. Like, relationships sometimes just don't cross over, which is really honestly annoying. But yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. But either way, I just haven't given the Goth family a makeover yet, just because I'm just so... Like, I still want them to be the Goth family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still want you to be able to look at them, but like, the Goth family, the name fits. Like, I want that to be kind of like the idea. But I'm just so hesitant to give them a makeover and to absolutely butcher them. And also, by the way, the version that I will be eventually given a makeover to is the original OG Goth family, which there was basically the picture that I'm going to pop on the screen. That is what the Goth family looked like originally back in 2014. But a few years back, they kind of came in and they gave a few different townies like several different makeovers and stuff to make them look like previous versions of them from, say, The Sims 2 or The Sims 3 and things. And they did update the Goth household, but it only really translates when you enter a brand new save file, and this save file was well in production before that like makeover updo. So I'm not working with the new version of the Goths, I'm working with the old version of the Goths, but I'm still going to try and make them as true to what they originally used to be, but I'm just a bit worried about it. But either way, actually talking about the iconic family themselves and why I at least think they're iconic. Also kind of interrupting myself, but I know I'm a yapper and I'm going to speak over it. You see in this room down here, I've got this semicircular bar. On the right hand side, you see them bookcases. One of them, the middle one, that is actually a secret door which leads down into the basement. That's got the vault, and then also it's like a wine cellar. It's got a few different statues down there. You'll see it because I decorate that room next. But yeah, the way that you access it is through a door in this hallway. Originally I was going to have one of these hidden bookcases upstairs, and when I originally did the floor plan for this house, you would have seen I did actually place down one of these bookcases on kind of like the ground level, or like where you walk in through the front door. But then I was really thinking about it in my head. I was really deep in it, I don't know why, but I was proper deep in it, and I was thinking, well, if you're, say for example, inviting your mates round, you want to come and have a drink downstairs in the secret bar down here, and then you open up a bit secret bookcase door, they're down here and they're like, well, hang on, you've got the same set of bookcases, there must be another secret door. To me, in my mind, it just made it feel less secretive. And so the way that you actually get down into this initial cellar, it's a regular door, like it's just an average door, but then the bookcase door is a little bit more secretive. I just wanted to explain that just in case you noticed it when I was doing the initial floor plan. I wanted to kind of like tell you my thought process again. Like I said, it's really not that deep. It's literally just like, your Sims, they won't even probably go downstairs to the vault. They might if they're, you know, a kleptomaniac, but in my head it just feels more secretive this way. But either way, talking about the actual Goth family and why I think they're iconic anyway, it's not even so much like their Gothic style, because when I say they're a Gothic family, like the ancestors of this family, all of the men are kind of like always like dapper businessmen, whereas the women are more like elegant stuff. They're basically from old money. But the reason why I love the Goth family so much all stems down from The Sims 2, and that is pretty much because in The Sims 2, Bella Goth wasn't about. She went missing basically, and it was like this whole mystery, and like, it's kind of semi-solved, like, depending on how you look at it. But basically, cut a long story short, she in The Sims 2 was last seen on Don Lothario's balcony, because he had like this white house. It had a telescope, and it also had a hot tub. I believe as well he was neighbours with the Caliente sisters. I can picture their heads, but I'm pretty sure they were neighbours. Either way, Bella Goth was last seen on Don Lothario's balcony in The Sims 2, and then she suddenly just got vanished, like she got abducted by aliens and she went missing. And then if you actually played with the Goth household in The Sims 2, I know I'm like, this is like literally 21 years ago, but she wasn't there. She was missing. And also, fun fact, if you did play with the Goth family in The Sims 2, when you load into The Sims 2, Cassandra Goth, who is the teenage daughter of this household, she's actually an adult in The Sims 2, and when you load in, it's basically a cutscene of her being left at the altar by good old-fashioned Don Lothario. The Sims 4, we're on a completely different timeline, because The Sims 4, Cassandra Goth is a teenager, Don Lothario is a young adult, so that doesn't work. But in The Sims 2, it was a different timeline, it was a different thing. In The Sims 3, if we want to get really into the nitty-gritty, both Bella and Mortimer Goth were kids in The Sims 3, or Bella Bachelor. You know what I mean, like she's Bella Goth current day, the legend that she is, but back in The Sims 3 days, she was Bella Bachelor. But yeah, she was a kid when you play with her in The Sims 3, and yeah, but getting back to Sims 2, in The Sims 2, basically Bella Goth went missing and no one knows where she was, and it was this whole mystery. When you load into their household, daughter gets left at the altar by Don Lothario, no one knows where Bella is. But the thing is, there was like this conspiracy that she was abducted by aliens, and then so there is literally so many different theories on it online. But I still remember being a little girl, like literally a kid, and playing The Sims 2. And I used to always play this one particular family, sorry, this is going to be a little bit off subject, but it was these three guys, and they lived in the world of Strangetown, and they had this very particular house. Can't think of what they're called, but I could tell you what their house floor plan is. I don't need a map, I know my way around it. But they lived in the world of Strangetown, and I used to play with them a lot because I loved the house. But I remember a few different times I would see Bella Goth walking down the street, and I was stunned. Like, I was left speechless, because you're meant to be a missing woman, and why you're in Strangetown. And so a lot of people speculate that she was abducted by aliens, and you know, like alien Strangetown kind of makes sense. But yeah, in a previous version of The Sims, Bella Goth, or yeah, no, she was Bella Goth in Sims 2. She was missing, and you went into the household and she weren't there. However, in The Sims 4, she is here, and if you actually play with this household, which I don't do nowadays, I don't do. Back in the day, I used to do it all the time. But if you play with the Goth household now, she's meant to be in the secret agent career, and I'm not sure if I'm actually going to keep her to be in that particular career path for my safe file. I do not know, if I'm being honest, what I actually want to do with her, because I feel like so many people have so many different routes that they want to go down, and I actually just don't have a clue. If I'm being completely honest with you, I'd love to make her vanished. Like, I'd love to make her a missing person in the game, but I don't want her to be, popped clogs. I still want her to be alive, but I don't know how to do it, because the way that The Sims 4 works, it does kind of like bring you back to reality, because, and I don't know what kind of player you are, but say for example, if I'm playing in the world of Copperdale, I don't leave Copperdale, like I'm not friends with people that live in, say for example, Chestnut Ridge. No, because my sim lives in Copperdale, completely different region of the world in my mind anyway, and so I'm not sure how to make it so she would be missing, because we could go along with that storyline, but then you could just literally see her strutting down the road in, I don't know, Brenton Bay. Like, I don't know what to do with her for my save file. I would love the idea for her to be a missing person and there to be like this massive mystery, but yeah, I just don't know how I would do that. And so if you have any suggestions for what I should do with her career-wise, please do let me know. Like I said, I'm going to keep Mortimer in the writing career because it suits him perfectly. He's got a lovely little home office downstairs. I've completely spoke over it. But yeah, Mortimer is still going to be an author. I just don't know what I want to do with Bella. But either way, besides the point, and actually getting back and talking about the build, I'm so sorry. I try not to normally speak over the interior furnishings because I like to explain what I'm doing or my thought process or where things are from and stuff like that, but it's the Goth family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to talk about them because do you know what, I think I love them so much because I quite literally grew up with the whole mystery of like, who's Bella Goth, like where's she gone kind of thing. And I don't know if anyone else finds this. I mean, I don't know how old you are and if you ever played The Sims 2, but even now, current day, if I'm in The Sims 4 and I see Bella Goth, I get a bit nervous. I'm like, oh, it's Bella Goth, because in The Sims 2, she was missing. She weren't meant to be there. And when I did see her when I was a kid in Strangetown, it was like this massive mystery, like, oh my god, I found her. But yeah, either way, as you can see, I'm now moving in and I started decorating the teenage girl's bedroom. I say teenage girl like I don't know the ins and outs of her, but this is Cassandra Goth's bedroom, or some people call her Cassie Goth. She's basically, in The Sims 4, a teenage daughter of Bella and Mortimer Goth. Now, I've always seen her personally to be a bit of an academic. Like, I've always seen Cassandra, I was about to say Cassie again, but Cassandra Goth, to me, she just seems someone that would just love a book and stuff. And so the way that I tried to decorate her room, I tried to go down that kind of route. I tried to place down like a little bookcase section. I placed down like a nice little armchair eventually by the window. She's got this quite fancy like 4-poster-ish bed. I say ish. I tried to make it a 4-poster bed. I don't know how well I played it off. I have actually done something similar to this in another one of my builds. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was a vampire house, but I have done this method of using kind of like these string ceiling lights that kind of like drape down from the ceiling. I say string, it's more like a curtain. They're from the High School Years expansion pack, and basically what I did is I just got multiple of them, pushed them together, and then using the tool mod I just elevated them down, because where you eventually place them down they're a little bit too high. And then I got some columns basically on either ends of the beds, and then just kind of like moved objects them into position to kind of act like a 4-poster bed. Originally, when I was, it sounds silly, but like kind of like mapping out how her bedroom would be in my mind before I came in and started decorating, I wanted to go for this one bed that we got from the High School Years expansion pack, and you would have seen me put it out at some point, but basically in my head it was a deep purple bedspread and it had these little skulls in it, and to me I was thinking that is so Cassandra Goth, like that is perfect. Came into decorating, it's not a deep purple, it's actually more like a baby pink and baby blue, and so I kind of had to scrap that idea. And so yeah, eventually I just used this bed that we got from, I think it's a Life and Death expansion pack. Probably not the most teenagery kind of bed that we've got in the game, but again, it's the Goth household. It kind of just like fits in with their aesthetics. It's quite a dark looking bed and it's got like roses and it's just kind of like a bit gothic, if you want to put it that way. But something that I did want to speak over, which I say speak over, speak about, which I did speak over, was Alexander Goth's bedroom. I was just completely yapping, but something that I really wanted to point out is, you'll notice it in the screenshots, in his bedroom he's got a doll's house, and if you look at the doll's house, it's actually meant to be a replica of the original Goth house from The Sims 4, like the OG one that came with the game in 2014. We got it from the Storybook Nursery kit, which I remember when I first saw that kit for the first time, and I saw that we had this dollhouse replica of the literal house that when you used to enter a brand new save file, it's not anymore because they've changed it, but originally back in the day when you would enter a save file, there was this particular house that the Goth family lived in, but now it's been made into a doll's house in the game. And I knew when I first saw that doll's house from the Storybook Nursery kit for the first time, I knew eventually when it came round to actually giving the Goth family a house in my save file, that I needed to use that doll's house for Alexander, the little boy. And so I just popped it into his bedroom. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into one of the bathrooms. This is actually Bella and Mortimer's ensuite. Now in total there is, I think, 4.5 bathrooms in this house, and like I said, all the bedrooms upstairs, they have their own ensuite bathroom. There is like no main master bathroom, if you want to put it that way, but in the bathrooms, I never showed the furnishing for one because they're quite boring, they're quite repetitive, and Bella and Mortimer's bathroom just ended up being the biggest one. But in there I placed down, I think, the bathtub and the shower that we got from the Life and Death expansion pack, and actually also the sink, and then just a little base game toilet. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into Bella and Mortimer's bedroom. So in here I really wanted to have a red bedspread for, Bella and Mortimer, but in the end I actually just don't end up going for it. I end up settling on this grey, white and brown bed that we got from, I think it's I was about to say the high school years expansion, but that is definitely not. I think it's from City Living off memory. But basically, I really wanted to have a red bed because that's iconic. It's the Goth family, and we do have a handful of different red beds in the game, but none of the red beds were kind of like going with the idea that I envisioned for them, because there is, I think, one red bed that's like a 4-poster bed, quite a fancy one, and I like having fancy beds like that in like master suites to kind of show, sounds silly, but kind of show authority. Because to me, if I was to go into a house, like visit someone's house, and you've got multiple different beds, but then there's one bedroom that's got like a 4-poster bed, I just personally would assume that's the master bedroom. To be fair, they have also got a walk-in wardrobe, so it might be a little bit easier to identify, whose room is whose. But I wanted to have a 4-poster bed, but there was no 4-poster beds in the game that were a red swatch, which was that kind of like mould, like kind of like deeper red that I was talking about. A lot of it is that kind of like cherry kind of red, which just not my cup of tea. I do end up placing down a sofa into their actual bedroom, which the sofa, if you're curious, is a very it's quite a fancy like lounge chair sofa, but that is from the Secret Sanctuary kit. And fun fact, I don't know if you're aware of this, but that kit was actually meant to be made for Bella Goth. Like, it was kind of like this thing of like, okay, Secret Sanctuary, we're going to have like a red lounge chair, we're going to have a makeup vanity table, we're going to have like a little music box, and it was meant to be Bella Goth's kit. I had to include it into this house, and so I did place down a little red sofa into their bedroom, but I didn't do a red bedspread because the red was just a little bit too much for me. But either way, as you would have just seen, I just quickly did their walk-in wardrobe, and now I'm moving over into the last space in this house, which is the upstairs hallway. To be fair, this room is quite simple because it is a hallway, and I didn't want to go over the top, because also something as well which I have completely forgotten to mention, I tried to really make a conscious effort not to overclutter this house, and I tried to keep the cluttering to a minimum. But something I did want to mention is I really like the rug that I placed down in here. I actually merged in 2 different rugs to kind of like create my own rug. I used one that we got from the Room of Magic game pack, and then combined it with one that we got from the Vintage Glamour stuff pack. But other than that, I'm going to go around the room, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.